Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NT International. I am Lami Ali. Taiwo Ozoma is a sign language interpreter. We begin with the headlines. Vice President Kashim Shettima leads Nigeria's delegation to Anga as federal government activates empowerment of 10 million women. Nigeria and United States of America strengthens education ties. And Comium pours in for outstanding Nigerian scientists who shine at Stanford Global Stage. Now we begin from New York, where Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived the city ahead of the 80th United Nations General Assembly session, leading Nigeria's delegation as directed by President Bola Tinubu. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports that upon his arrival, the Vice President met with other members of the Nigerian delegation on expectation of the country's participation.
Vice President Kashim Shettima arrives in New York, received at the J.F. Kennedy International Airport, welcomed by some members of the Nigerian delegation, as well as officials of the Nigerian mission in New York and other stakeholders. Vice President Kashim Shettima engaged members of the delegation ahead of his schedule to join other leaders at the global event to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. He would also deliver Nigeria's national statement on behalf of President Bola Tinubu and attend a special event on climate for heads of state and government to be hosted by the United Nations Secretary General.
The topical issues that will clearly come up. So we've reiterated Nigeria's position, the conflicts in the Middle East, in Gaza, Israel, Palestine. There's the issue of Eastern Congo. There is the conflict in Sudan. The Vice President will be meeting with the Prime Minister of Sudan. He's also going to be participating in the African Union's Peace and Security Council meeting, which is going to be taking place.
So in all is to push forward the Renewed Hope agenda, is to push forward the areas that we're focusing on for investment, is to push forward the reforms that the Nigerian economy has experienced in the last 2 years, and to make sure that all the friends of Nigeria in New York for this event are well versed in the position of where we are right now.
And of course, we look at areas of strength, and of course, knowing fully that Nigeria is one of the leading economies in Africa. And of course, we know some of the very important reforms that were established at the beginning of our government in Nigeria that have really opened up a lot of opportunities. And of course, we believe this very important UN General Assembly will certainly further reposition Nigeria as one of the destinations for people to come invest in our own country.
Vice President Shettima is also slated to attend the high-level roundtable of the global champions on adequate and affordable housing to be hosted by the President of Kenya on September 24th and attend other bilateral meetings and events. From New York, Abdurrahman Jibrila, NTA News.
Now, the federal government has activated economic empowerment program of more than 10 million women to achieve its $1 trillion economy. Nigeria's Minister of Women Affairs, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, disclosed this at a high-level sideline events of the 2025 United Nations General Assembly in New York, themed Scaling Women's Economic Empowerment, Financing Inclusive Growth for Peace, Development and Human Rights, Lessons from Nigeria for Women projects.
We have chosen to act in Nigeria, and one of the key vehicles being utilized is the Nigerian for Women project. The Nigerian for Women project, under the leadership of His Excellency, Mr. President Bola Tinubu, GCFR, is today the country's most significant women economic empowerment platform and the biggest investment by the government of Nigeria for women in collaboration with the World Bank.
We remain firmly committed to building an enabling environment where women have equitable access to finance, skills, and markets that will allow them to fully contribute to national development.
And when women thrive, families and communities and entire economies thrive. Reinvestments in women's empowerment are not only a moral imperative, they are an economic necessity for peace, prosperity, and shared growth.
In my state, most of the programs of empowerment that we do, 70% of the beneficiaries are women. And we will continue to do that.
The program is envisioned as a transformative, gender-responsive initiative that will directly impact women, children, families, and vulnerable persons across all 774 local government areas, providing a unified national platform to tackle systemic issues such as gender inequality, family instability, digital exclusion, child vulnerability, and economic disempowerment. As the United Nations marks its 80th anniversary, Secretary General Antonio Guterres has issued a warning to world leaders gathered as the opening of the UN General Assembly. He said the founding principles of the UN are under assault as never before, from wars in Gaza, Ukraine, and Sudan to climate chaos and rising poverty, urging nations to rise with courage and unity to strengthen multilateral cooperation. Justin Bemunyi reports.
There is a persistent myth that peace is naive, that justice is sentimental, that the only real politics is the politics of power and self-interest. But those early staff were not idealists untouched by reality. They had seen war and they knew. Peace is the most courageous, the most practical, the most necessary pursuit of all.
The UN Secretary-General evoked the organization's early history, recalling its first staff members, many of whom were scarred by the horrors of World War II, but dedicated their lives to building lasting peace. Guterres warned that today international law is being trampled, civilians are being targeted, and progress on the Sustainable Development Goals is faltering. He pointed to conflicts in Gaza, Ukraine, and Sudan, rising global hunger and climate disasters, fires, floods, and recorded heat as urgent tests for humanity. He stressed that as the world shifts towards multipolarity, global cooperation must be strengthened to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past. The UN chief says initiatives like Agenda 2030, the Pact for the Future, and the UNIT initiative are designed to renew the foundations of global cooperation and deliver for all people. Guterres concluded with a call for leaders to face the next 80 years, including challenges like climate change, uncontrolled technologies, and the militarization of space with clarity, courage, and conviction to fulfill the promise of peace. Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
The United States has lauded the educational partnership with Nigeria, which it says empowers the next generation of leaders, innovators, and changemakers. A public diplomacy officer at the U.S. Embassy in Abuja, Brian Newbert, stated this as the 2025 Education USA Annual College Fair holding in Abuja. Chukwu Nunso Nwabweze reports.
These prospective students are here to consider their next steps in joining a long tradition of Nigerian students who have excelled in U.S. institutions under the Education USA program and have gone on to make significant contributions to their communities, region, and the globe at large. A public diplomacy officer at the United States Embassy in Abuja, Brian Newbert urged those to be found eligible for student visa to responsibly maintain their student visa status by complying with all regulations in order to make most of their time in the United States.
You're here today because you're seeking those opportunities, and we're glad that you're here. And we think it's smart that you're here. But you also bring a wealth of experience and a background to those campuses that enriches the experience for everyone there if you study on an American campus.
At the fair arena, prospective students, parents as well as guardians move from one institution stand to another to have a first-hand information on each of the school's entry requirements, process of application, as well as its financial implications.
I'm really hopeful that I'll get an admission into at least one or two or more universities, really.
What is happening here is good. Educational USA, you are doing a great job, but the American government should reciprocate it by ensuring that they grant these children visas they require to go and study.
80% of our community college graduates go to the University of Washington, which is a nationally ranked research institution. So you get a great, solid education with us, transfer down, save a lot of money.
With the theme, Empowering Future, Discover American Excellence in Education and Innovation, this year's Education USA Fair had representatives from 28 American colleges and universities in attendance, with over 1,000 Nigerian students to explore their higher education opportunities in the United States. Chukwunonso Nwabweze, NTN News.
Now, Nigeria's intellectual firepower is lighting up the world map again. The newly released Stanford Top 2% Scientist list for 2025 places over 230 Nigerian researchers among the globe's most influential minds, proving that world-class innovation is thriving on African soil. Here is Justin Bemwinyi with the reports.
Nigeria's scientists are standing tall in the world's biggest hall of science. The September 2025 Stanford Elsevier Top 2% Scientists list identifies the world's most influential researchers across 22 scientific fields and 174 subfields, using a composite citation score from millions of global publications. It tracks both career-long impact and single-year performance. This year, more than 200 Nigerian scholars earned a place on the list, a remarkable achievement for a country where research funding, infrastructure, and laboratory facilities remain far behind global leaders like the United States and China. Among the outstanding names are Professor Mayowa Owolabi of the University of Ibadan, who is shaping global stroke prevention policies and strengthening health systems for low-resource nations. Professor Charles Adetunji of the Edo State University, Uzaire, who is unlocking the power of microbes and biotechnology to improve food safety and discover natural antioxidants. Dr. Isa Abdullahi Baba of the BUK, transforming mathematics into practical solutions for real-world challenges. Dr. Humphrey Adun of the Covenant University, who is charting a sustainable energy future for West Africa through renewables. And Dr. Olushola Eleko Feiti of FUTA, who is investigating plant compounds with potential to combat disease. Each of these names represents more than just a statistic. They tell over 200 stories of resilience, brilliance, and global relevance. Nigerian scientists are not just publishing papers. They are shaping Africa's future and influencing the global scientific conversation. Justin Bemwinyi, NTA News.
All right, so joining us now from Osogbo via Zoom is Professor Charles Adetunji. He is the Director of Research and Innovation, Edo State University, Uzaire. He's also an expert in microbiology, biotechnology, and nanotech. He's one of the Nigerians on the list of the top 2% scientists in the world. Professor Adetunji, thank you for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much. It's very nice
bringing
me on board. Thank you.
So Nigeria's appearance on this global top 2% list is really impressive. but we know research funding is still low compared to countries like the United States and China. So what policies or investments do you think government and private sector must urgently make to sustain and scale this success?
Thank you very much. Let me first of all say, I want to appreciate the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Ahmed Bola Tinubu, for prioritizing education in a very high level, and all the policy he's doing has been fruitful. But indeed, Nigeria making the top 2% global research as a very big testimony to the talents we have in the country. But talent alone is not enough. We need sustained investment. The government have poured on board tech fund, NAIL fund, and a lot of other national research innovation firms. They need to be activated very well, and with the kind of transparent mechanism to support applied research. And most importantly, we have done a lot in Nigeria, but it's high time we embrace translational research that solve real Nigeria problem. We have a lot of things. God has blessed us with a lot of natural bioresources. It's high time we now prioritize indigenous-based technology and indigenous science, which is the highest form of economy. Secondly, we must prioritize incentives from the private sector to co-invest in research and development, so that tax credit or grant research commercialization hub can encourage industries and researchers and scientists. They should also support technology transfer offices in order to move ideas from lab to marketplace, thereby enhancing down-to-town initiative.
Yes.
Finally, we should not be siloed. We should be siloed. We need a form of interdisciplinary approach.
I get your point, Prof. I get your point, Prof. We don't have enough time on the news. So let us narrow the conversation to your work. Your research uses microbes to boost agriculture and food production. How quickly can Nigeria realistically deploy this kind of innovation to address food insecurity and rising food prices, which we are witnessing across the country?
Thank you very much. The exciting thing about most of the work I've done have been on microbial innovation like fertilizer, biopesticide, microbial soil analyzer. They are not only effective because they are active, because they are low cost, scalable, sustainable, and eco-friendly. So, but with the right partnership between research institutes, universities, extensions, agro-industry, Nigeria can begin to deploy all this technology. Recently, Nigeria Society of Microbiology held its 47th annual scientific conference in Calabar, where the theme of the conference was Microbial Innovation Development Microbiology Pathway to Health, Society, and Economic Prosperity. Edo State University Uzari also have a compendium of intellectual under the leadership of our new Vice Chancellor that brought a lot of innovations. So, right collaboration, a kind of approach from industry, research institute, policymaker, government involvement is going to solve a lot of things. So what we need now is a national policy framework that will support bio-based inputs, accelerates regulatory approval, trains farmer to adopt some of the technology we have developed in those state universities.
Thank you.
And we also need private sector to come in.
Thank you so much.
And a lot of agri-tech and investor.
Thank you so much, Professor Daytonji, for sharing your thoughts with us, and we congratulate you for that successful work that you have done that got you into the list of the top 2% scientists in the world. You're watching the news on NTA International. The use of cutting-edge technology and artificial intelligence is being suggested to parliaments across Africa to tackle fiscal and governance challenges, as well as transformation of budget scrutiny. At the opening of the 8th Conference of African Network of Parliamentary Budget Officers, Speaker of Nigeria's House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, said Nigeria is taking the lead by strengthening procurement laws to block leakages. Here is the report. Effective fiscal oversight in parliaments across Africa is of essence to enable the continent to achieve the 2063 development agenda. Speaker Abbas, while declaring open the conference, points to available data which states that Africa loses billions of dollars annually, monies that should have been channeled to development projects. He said while countries are left with the option of credit finance, borrowing, as is done under the administration of President Tinubu, are targeted as developments. in a transparent and sustainable manner.
Under President Tinubu's leadership, borrowed funds are being channeled towards transformative projects that will expand revenue-generating capacity, such as power, transport, and agriculture, rather than for consumption. The House stands firmly behind the President's vision of using judicious borrowing as a catalyst for growth and poverty reduction, while simultaneously strengthening oversight mechanisms.
The conference aims to build capacity of budget offices for evidence-based fiscal management across member countries.
The role of parliamentary budget offices has never been more vital. I encourage us all to use this conference not only as a platform for exchange, but as a springboard for innovation and renewed commitment to fiscal representability.
Our overall objective is to contribute to the effective utilization of public resources, particularly in the context of the African Union's Agenda for 2063.
United by purpose and shared commitment, we are well positioned to chart a new course for budgetary excellence across Africa.
Among topics of discourse at the conference are oversight, accountability, and fiscal discipline, bridging gaps between preparation and implementation, and public debt management in Africa.
They provide an avenue for us to borrow best practices from each other to enable us to know where we have limitations. We can borrow from those who have already adopted the best practices.
This is going to strengthen even our mandates as the county assemblies.
It's not only in Africa that you find corruption. Even in the great United States, people talk about corruption. But we, as human beings, every day we improve on what we're doing.
Nigeria is hosting the conference for the first time. Now, the world must unite to tackle the increasing cases of violent conflicts and war if it must return to track for global developments. This was the resolution of stakeholders at the 2025 International Peace Day and 25th anniversary of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. David Irie reports.
With over $19 trillion so far spent on current wars and violent conflicts across the globe, Nigeria, and indeed the entire world, must work hard to curb the trend and enthrone global peace. The IPCR is therefore brainstorming with stakeholders on how to achieve this goal in Nigeria and build on the success story of the Institute in the last 25 years.
In the face of these headwinds, the message of peace is not a quiet whisper. It is a powerful, urgent clarion call that we all have to pursue. It is a reminder that peace is not merely the absence of war, but the presence of justice, equity, and dignity for all.
The increasing negative deployment of the internet and porous international borders have aided violent conflicts, hence the need for synergy among relevant agencies to sustain peace building across regions.
We must harness the power of dialogue and reconciliation. From local community, dialogue must remain the most effective tool for conflict resolution. Let us listen before we judge. Negotiate before you fight.
Let Nigerians' voice become clearer, that we choose peace over violence. We choose unity over division. We choose dialogue over destructions. And we must act now, not tomorrow, to build a peaceful, just, and prosperous country.
The theme of this year's celebration is Act Now for a Peaceful World. In Abuja, David Irie, NTA News.
The Federal High Court Abuja Division has adjourned the commencement of trial of the suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan to 20th October 2025. The presiding judge, Justice Mohammed Umar, gave the order in Abuja following the objection raised by the defendants in the matter. Daily Atumbi of our Judiciary Desk reports.
The commencement of trial of suspended Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Aduaghan before a federal high court in Abuja was stalled due to an objection raised by the defendant. Natasha Akpoti-Aduaghan, who was arraigned on June 30, 2025 on a 6-count charge filed by the Director of Public Prosecution of the Federation, was granted bail by the court. When the case was called for mention, Prosecution Counsel David Kaswe told the court that the business of the day was for the prosecution to open its case by calling its first witness. Responding, Defense Counsel Heyoji West Idahosa, SAN, expressed concern about the possibility of the prosecution opening its case. West Idahosa said the defendant has filed a notice of preliminary objection to challenge the court's jurisdiction to hear the matter. He said the objection is not to the nature of the charge, but the alleged abuse of the prosecutory powers of the Attorney General of the Federation. The Defense Counsel also complained about not being served with copies of the statements of the prosecution witnesses. Justice Mohammed Umar insisted that the prosecution must first respond to the objection. The judge said he intends to first determine the objection raised by the defense team before taking any further steps in the matter. Justice Umar subsequently fixed October 20, 2025 for the hearing of the objection. Natasha Akpoti-Aduaghan is standing trial on a 6-count charge bordering on cybercrimes. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
And that does it on the news at this time on NTA International. We thank you for your time. I'm Lami Ali, and my sign language interpreter has been Taiwo Ozoma. Do have a good evening.